when you are. All right, class, please take your seats. Yeah, take out your earbuds, I see you. Okay, today we're going to be talking more about our heritage and pretty much how we ended up where we are today. So, for example, I have Irish heritage, and that can be directly traced back to the potato famine. Well, maybe I'll tell you the story later. Well, actually, what would you guys prefer? It's history anyway. Okay then, I'll tell you the story. So, for some context, background details and a good build-up to the main story. In 1800 to 1801, the English government passed the 1800s Act of Union, which pretty much took away all of Ireland's sovereignty and joined them into one country. Now, since all the English people were pretty much Protestants who hated Catholics, they decided to pass the penal laws, which, specifically the Land Act, made all Irish farmers, when they died, divide their land evenly between their sons or their daughters if they had no sons. This, after some time, left all Irish farmers with tiny plots of land to farm on. So the Irish farmers turned to the potato. It was it grew well in the climate. It was easy to cook, it was filling, but more importantly, it was easy to grow on tiny plots of land. So they all grew the same type of easy to grow potato. However, in 1845, a potato blight was introduced to Ireland, which wiped out all the potatoes with ease because they all grew the same type. So, Ireland was left completely without food. In 1847, at the height of the famine, the Society of Friends decided to set up soup kitchens, but you would know them better as Quakers living in Ireland. So they decided to set up soup kitchens across Ireland to feed the starving Irish people. And the English government, who you remember was governing Ireland at this time, decided to follow in their tracks and also set up soup kitchens across Ireland. These kitchens were a massive success, and they were feeding 3 million people, give or take. But, unfortunately, right as there was some hope for these poor, starving Irish people, I will continue to consider relief efforts for Ireland. Signed, the Assistant Secretary to the Treasury, Charles Edwards Trevelyan. I know that the soup kitchens are a rough and ready mode of preserving life right now in Ireland, but they will never do as a long-term solution. What shall be done? Well, I'm certainly not blind. I can see what's happening in Ireland right now. First and foremost, this must be wrath from God because of their Catholicism. He must have sent this famine. Secondly, I know that the Irish people are, because of the charities, being trained to rely on the government for everything. I've heard that the widows go around with the charities, getting a soup or bread ticket there, a dinner or grocery ticket there, and are thus trained, their children are thus trained, as in school, to replenish the ranks of pauperism. It cannot continue. So, we will discontinue the soup kitchens altogether, and instead, offer them jobs. Once the Irish people have jobs, they can pay back the landlords who have sadly evicted them. That's a good idea. And so, they took away the soup kitchens in Ireland. Now, since 3 million people were using this for their food source, this obviously caused some problems. The Society of Friends has raised an additional £5,000, and they have bought roughly 32,000 acres of land and 60 tons of seed, but it's only feeding a small percent of us. And the government, they don't understand that they can offer us as many jobs as they want, but there's no food to buy here. Why should we work ourselves further into starvation? The only comfort it would provide is a way to get out of these freezing ditches. We're freezing, we're starving, we're catching fevers and typhus. There's not enough room in the cemeteries to hold our bodies. And what did the English people say to our distress? They're our neighbors, our only government. We have a right to be fed. We have a right to life. And what do they say about it? Well, I heard that Sir Charles Trevelyan has decided to stop serving the Irish people free food and has instead taken away all Irish soup kitchens in Ireland. Well, government-run soup kitchens, that is. I do believe, of course, that this was the right course of action. We do not want them to depend too heavily on us. It's not our responsibility to feed them. And we really, really do not want them getting used to handouts. Also, I've heard that people in Ireland are deciding to move to the USA to look for jobs. Ireland is losing its population fast to these ships sailing to North America. At least now, less of our precious tax dollars will go towards feeding the starving, lazy Irish people. And to think many of them are refusing work for the government. That is the epitome of laziness, and I bet the public council should have a lot to do with that. I do think that giving them jobs in industry is the best course of action. It will help them, I'm sure, if God is willing to spare them his wrath. It's just the only way. Okay, so class, quick recap before we continue. The Irish people were governed by the English government, despite major cultural and religious tensions and differences. So, but, in 1845, a potato blight hit Ireland and the Irish food source was completely wiped out. Now, in 1847, the Quakers set up soup kitchens, and the government did too. But despite them being a success, the government soon abolished them and took them all away, denying the people's right to food. And as a reaction, the English people, they didn't care. Although the Irish people did receive support from the Ottoman Empire, the Choctaw tribe in the US, and continued relief efforts from the Society of Friends. Okay, and now for the more world-changing history aspect of this, we have the Irish migrants traveling from Ireland to the USA. This is where my heritage comes from and how my ancestors came to the USA. I can't believe that Donovan has paid my fare to sail with Jimmy Johnston. Oh, America, what wonderful industry will await me there. I can hardly wait. After weeks on the ocean, overcrowded and dirty, I finally made it to America. Huh. A railroad worker. Yes, this is perfect. I can make enough food to send, or enough money to send food and money back to my family in Ireland. I'm working really hard here in America, and I have found a job working to build railroads that will eventually build up America herself. At least, that's what I believe. Maybe I just say that to ease the hardships of this work. Unfortunately, there is no place for the filthy railroad workers among the rich, or even the middle class of America. People here say that because we're Catholic and we like to drink in our free time, we must all be lazy, dangerous drunks who do more bad for America than good. But it's not all bad. Some people do seem to appreciate what we're doing here, and they do believe that we do deserve a spot in society in this side of the Atlantic. I see in thrown out newspapers all the time, all sorts of cartoons. Some are kind and welcome us with open arms, but others turn us away. They show us as cruel beasts. I can't help but wonder, what's so wrong with enjoying a little drink sometimes? Or even more so, what's wrong with being Catholic? People here really seem to hate Catholicism. It's not like at home in Ireland, meaning that there aren't any legal barriers for us, but you can definitely see the disapproval here. Well, I need to rest for the long journeys ahead. I hope this money will go towards feeding you for a long time, and perhaps go towards your journey to meet me here in America. Someday. Life in America is hard, but I can dream of making a fortune and building up my career. Yes, Mom. Sorry, Mom. Judy calls. They'll see. What we're doing here matters. I know it does. And our rights will one day be restored. One day. And now, even 180 years later, we can still see the lasting impact of the Irish immigrants. In 2021, 31.5 million US citizens claimed Irish heritage. That's 9.4% of us in the USA. And the Irish people built the railroads, and without the railroads, who knows where we would even be today. The USA would have been so far in westward expansion, so far behind on westward expansion, that is. And the immigrant was right. We have, as a society and the United States, restored their rights to their children, grandchildren, and beyond. Thank you.
So, what made you want to